As the CDC loosens social distancing guidelines for schools and most districts reopen classrooms, a new survey finds 59% of students now have the option of in-person learning. For our series School Matters, we visited Parsippany Hills High School in New Jersey to follow up with a group of high school educators we first met 8 months ago. Pedro Hernandez teaches social studies there. Sheena Graham is a music and chorus instructor in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Emily Krieger teaches health in New York State, and Matt Baker teaches math in New York City. All four are partially or fully vaccinated. They are currently teaching students on hybrid schedules and have more students coming back in person after spring break. How are you all doing? Everybody laughs. Emily, start. Go ahead, Emily, start.
I'm okay. I think I'm better now than I was if you asked me probably 4 or 5 months ago.
Matt?
Just tired. I'm just like epically, permanently tired at this point.
Sheena?
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
This has been a journey. It's a little overwhelming still.
Yeah.
Just dealing with going from being heroes to villains in a short period of time.
Pedro, how are you doing?
I'd say I adjusted, but I'll tell my kids, like, sometimes it'll come out, I hate virtual teaching, or at least just, remote teaching for the kids that I have at home, that I just want everyone back in the classroom because it's just a better experience for me and the kids.
Speaking of the kids, how would you say your kids are doing?
One student said to me, "Are you as afraid to be around me as I am to be around you?"
Really?
They take in a lot, and if you've really built relationships with students, this is a stressful time for them being near you when they care about you.
For me, I've really focused on, like Sheena said, the relationship building, which I do, but I really spend a lot more time in investing in that because they need somebody and they need somebody to lean on.
I think the kids have had a year of trauma that they've been working through, and I think we're trying as best as we can to address their trauma and help them process it from a distance.
But when the teachers are going through trauma too.
Also, like, we just don't have the resources. Like, I still don't know what some of my students look like.
I'm curious how you feel that you've been treated as teachers through this whole period of time.
I'll tell people I'm a teacher, we know where I go in conversation, and they applaud me, they thank me, and I'm like, thank you, but it doesn't really set in because then there's the other side where you're the reason my kid's not back in school.
We are working our butts off every single day to make sure kids are learning, and kids are working really hard. And then you hear these stories about kids aren't learning anything and schools are closed, even though it doesn't feel like we're closed because I'm working all the time.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's been really demoralizing sometimes.
How much do you think this has cost the kids you teach academically?
Content-wise, it's hard. I'm probably 2 or 3 weeks behind where I was last year.
2 or 3 weeks?
Behind, yeah. They're able to connect things, and I think that's really one of the biggest parts of history, is being able to explain and link these things together. But even then, all I'm seeing is ceiling, and I have to see, all right, whose blue lights are that? All right, that's this
You're
girl.
seeing ceiling?
Yes, the cameras are on, but I see a lot of ceilings or tapestry or artwork behind, but I know who the kids are, and if I talk to them, they'll respond, but it's just how much are they really engaged?
Do you think standardized tests should not be given this year?
I think,
Yes.
Yeah, my takeaway from last year was we went through 3/4 of a year, normal, shut down, and we said, you know what, let's make everybody exempt. Let's not give a Regents exam.
Yeah.
And now you've asked us to reinvent what we're doing in a classroom, asking students to handle remote, in person, and now we're saying, hey, and now we want you to take a Regents exam. I just don't see why are we doing them. To me, it's money. Those companies want to get paid to distribute them. But you're not thinking about the student right now.
The Regents exams are just going to show us what we already know, that this pandemic has hit different communities very differently. And I don't trust that they're going to use that information to make things better so much as make those kids' lives harder when we get back. Not to mention taking the test when you don't know half the stuff on the test is traumatic for kids. all of us have memories of sitting down for a test we didn't study for and thinking.
Don't bring that up, please.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But like,
So true.
but like, it's going to be just adding unnecessary trauma to these kids who know they're behind. We know they're behind.
Yeah.
But here, sit and take a 3-hour exam that shows you just how behind you are.
Yeah.
And you're setting kids up pretty much to fail right now.
As you look to the fall and the likelihood that everyone will be back in school, how do you feel?
I think the concern would be making sure that with the funding that comes, the mental health people are going to be there full force. And not just for the kids,
For you too?
for us too. I think that, and I don't want to speak for anybody here, but I know a lot of teachers who were broken.
With all the stress that this year has brought, did any of you consider giving up teaching?
Yes,
You did.
I did. So there were days where I thought, I'm not sure I can hold on. You find yourself, if I'm honest, you cry a lot in the car.
So how did you get through it and keep doing it?
This is embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you. If you've ever seen the show The Office, one of the characters, Dwight, would go out on sales calls, and he would sit in the car and headbang. This was my first time in my life becoming a headbanger. I mean, I crank that music up, and I'm just out there going for quite a while. And it's like, it sounds so silly, but it's hard to do that and then get out of the car and cry. And so it's like little things. And so when you get those moments where the kid speaks from the heart and just says, you're making a difference, that's what helps you to hold on. And so I know my time's not up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sheena Graham, for your honesty.
And to Matt and to Pedro and to Emily, to all of them for talking to us again. And you know how much they've been through. I mean, I want to point out that Matt was talking to us a day after the 1-year anniversary that one of his fellow teachers died of COVID. So he experienced this very early on. Yeah. And they've been through so much, and they've been so resilient.
The residue is still
You can feel it in the room with them.
Did you tell all your teachers to wear bright blue?
No, I don't know what
It's a
happened.
great picture.
They're good at TV.
We'll be right back. You're watching CBS This Morning.